In this video, I am talking all about earnest deposits. An earnest deposit is money that a buyer will deposit with a title company once their offer is accepted on a house. It's similar to a security deposit, and it shows the seller that a buyer is serious about purchasing their home. The title company will hold on to the money, and should the buyer end up closing on the home, the money will be applied towards either their down payment or closing costs. You're probably wondering how much an earnest deposit needs to be. This really depends on the current real estate market and where you're located. Here in Arizona, earnest deposits are typically around 1% of the sales price. However, it really does make a difference what type of market we are in. Back when Phoenix was in a crazy seller's market in 2020, we would often see earnest deposits for much more than 1% to help make the buyer's offer stronger. Now, if the buyer ends up canceling the contract, there are several reasons why they would get their earnest money back. The most common is the inspection contingency, which allows the buyer to cancel during the inspection period and get their earnest money returned. Here in Arizona, the buyer is given a 10-day inspection period unless a different time frame was negotiated in the contract. The appraisal contingency is another way a buyer gets back their earnest deposit. If the buyer is getting a loan, their lender will require an appraisal, and if the buyer is paying cash, they have the option to add the appraisal contingency to the contract. Should the house not appraise for the purchase price, the buyer has the option to cancel. If the buyer is getting a mortgage, they will also have a financing contingency unless they remove it from the contract. This means if they get denied on their mortgage application, they can get a denial letter from the lender and the contract will be canceled. There's also another contingency that can be added to the contract called a buyer contingency. This means the buyer must sell their existing home in order to buy the new home. So if they can't sell their house within the agreed upon time frame, the contract will be canceled. In addition to these 4 contingencies, there are a few other reasons a buyer can get back their earnest money. Once the buyer receives the seller disclosures, insurance, claim history, and HOA CC&Rs and bylaws, they have 5 calendar days to review them and see if there's anything that's a deal breaker. If there is, as long as they cancel within 5 days of receipt of those documents, they will get back their earnest money. During the entire process of the sale, if there's anything additional the seller discloses, the buyer technically has 5 calendar days after delivery of that notice to cancel, and once again, earnest money would be returned. As you can see, there's many reasons earnest money can be returned to a buyer. Now, if the buyer gets cold feet and decides to cancel outside of these reasons or timeframes, the seller would most likely keep the earnest deposit. It's really important to work with the real estate agent who knows the contract well so they can help you navigate through any situation that may arise. If you have any questions about the home buying or selling process, feel free to reach out. Connect with me on Instagram, call or text, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and download our free buyer guide. Thanks so much for watching.